Giants are mentioned in the myths and legends of many cultures around the world, which is why we tend to regard them as fictional characters. But what if they really could have existed, even if only in ancient times? In this video, I will introduce you to some incredible discoveries that prove giants did live and continue to live on our planet. Enjoy watching. The inhabitants of settlements near the dense jungles of the Congo believe that terrifying monsters, giant spiders called jebaphofi, live in this area. These are not just large spiders like tarantulas. The size of a jebaphofi can reach up to 2.5 meters. It's no wonder that the locals are afraid to venture into the dense jungle. Fofi primarily hunt large forest animals, but sometimes people can also fall into their traps since their webs are nearly invisible, and the spider's lair is hidden under the foliage. In the past, the people of the Congo suffered from the fofi because livestock, and in rare cases children, would get caught in their traps. Therefore, they set out to exterminate the monsters. Of course, dealing with such spiders would be difficult, so the people devised a different strategy. They waited until the female spider left her lair, then destroyed the egg clutch. In this way, they managed to significantly reduce the fofi population and possibly even eliminate these monsters entirely. Amazingly, it's not only the people of Congo who have reported encounters with giant spiders, but also tourists from other countries. So it's possible that the fofi still inhabit the jungles of the Congo. Glyptodonts were an extinct genus of mammals related to modern armadillos. However, armadillos cannot boast the impressive size of glyptodonts. These prehistoric animals can be described as walking fortresses. Their bodies were up to 3 meters long, and they weighed up to 2 tons. Their bodies were covered with a thick shell made up of many hard, bony plates. The animal's head was also protected by a small shell, resembling an armored cap. The tail of glyptodonts was covered with numerous scales and spikes, which they used as a weapon to defend themselves from predators. This genus of mammals appeared on our planet about 2.5 million years ago in South America and became extinct 10,000 years ago. Adult glyptodonts had no natural enemies. No predator could penetrate the armor of this giant, though many could die from a blow of its spiked tail. As a result, glyptodonts were vulnerable only during their juvenile stage. These animals were also quite resistant to climate changes, and they might have survived to this day. However, scientists believe that their extinction was caused by early humans who hunted them and eventually wiped out their population. Ancient people valued these animals not only for their meat, but also for their strong armor, which could be used for various purposes. The inhabitants of the Solomon Islands passed down a legend from generation to generation about giant wild people who inhabit the dense forests of their lands. They call them mumu or rara. According to descriptions, these beings look very much like humans, with red or black thick hair and red eyes. Their distinctive feature is their enormous height, which can reach up to 4.5 meters. Rara are very aggressive and sometimes hunt humans. For a long time, the stories of these giants remained merely legends of the local people. However, thanks to a book by cryptozoologist Marius Boirayon, who lived for many years on the island of Guadalcanal, the world learned about them. The inhabitants of this island told Boirayon that deep beneath the local mountains lies an entire city inhabited by giants. The entrance to this settlement can be found in Mount Tatuva. However, no one has dared to enter it yet. Many people believe that Rara are nothing more than characters of Solomon Islands folklore, since there is no scientific evidence of their existence. But the locals are still convinced that mountain yetis live in their region, and they try to avoid the mountainous areas where the underground city of these creatures is said to be located. The Native American tribes of Nevada, the Paiutes, have long told legends about a race of red-haired white giants whom their ancestors called the Siteka. For the first time in print, stories about these giants appeared in 1882 in the book Life Among the Paiutes by Sarah Winnemucca Hopkins. According to the legends, the author described the Sai Teka as evil, cannibalistic giants. They tormented the people, so the Paiutes decided to unite and exterminate the wicked giants. The great battle between the Native Americans and the giants took place in Lovelock Cave, located in what is now the state of Nevada, USA. The giants believed they would easily win this war, but the people were smarter. The surviving giants tried to escape across the lake using rafts, but the Paiutes managed to destroy them as well. In this way, the Paiutes were able to completely exterminate the tribe of red-haired giants. Of course, many people died in this war, but the main thing was that they managed to rid their land of evil. It might seem like just a legend. But when giant human skeletons were found in the cave in 1911, people began to wonder if the Paiute stories could be true. Scientists who studied the bones confirmed that the beings to whom the remains belonged were over 2.5 meters tall. Moreover, patches of red hair were still preserved on their skulls. This may indicate that the Sitaka really existed and were exterminated by the Paiutes. The Pangboche hand is a mummified hand that is allegedly believed to belong to a Yeti. The story of this artifact began in the 1950s when Yetis were incredibly popular creatures, and many explorers were trying to find evidence of their existence. Traditionally, the homeland of the abominable snowman is considered to be Nepal, as reports of encounters with a giant humanoid creature have been recorded there since the 19th century. In 1953, an expedition of mountaineers climbing Everest visited the Himalayan village of Pangboche, located more than 4,000 meters above sea level. In this settlement, there is an ancient Buddhist temple. It was within its walls that the mountaineers discovered a scalp that, according to the monks, was taken from the head of a Yeti. Along with this artifact, the temple also housed a mummified hand of large size, which was also said to belong to the snowman. The expedition members were shocked by this discovery and asked the monks to give them the two artifacts, or at least fragments of them, for research. However, the Tibetans refused. News of the remarkable specimens proving the existence of the Yeti quickly spread among scientists and explorers. The Pangboche temple began to attract more and more tourists, hoping to persuade the monks to hand over the artifacts. Eventually, adventurer Tom Slick and mountaineer Edward Burns succeeded in doing so, but by deceptive means. They replaced one finger of the Pangboche hand with a human one and took the original to the United Kingdom, where it was examined by primatologist William Osman Hill. After analysis, Hill concluded that, unfortunately, the finger did not belong to a Yeti but to some unknown species of hominid. However, despite this, some people continue to believe that the hand is evidence of the snowman's existence. During the mid to late Paleocene, there were many animals you may have never heard of. One of these animals was Barylambda. Barylambda belonged to the extinct suborder of pantodonts. Like all other pantodonts, members of this family were massive, plantigrade, five-toed animals. They resembled giant tapirs with small heads and long tails, and their body shape was similar to that of a rhinoceros. Barylambda were very large animals. Their bodies were about 2.5 meters long, and they could weigh up to 650 kilograms. Despite their impressive size, they were quite harmless. Barylambda were most likely herbivores, as indicated by the presence of small canines only in males and the significant wear on the chewing teeth of all fossilized individuals found. The main habitat of Barylambda was North America. The first remains of these animals were discovered in the late 19th century in Wyoming. Later, Barylambda skeletons were also found in California. Thanks to these skeletons, scientists were able to gather information about the lives of these animals and recreate their appearance. In 1890, during excavations at a Bronze Age cemetery in Castelnau, France, anthropologist Georges Vacher de la Pouge discovered 3 human bones of enormous size. He reported his find in the scientific journal La Nature. In the article, the anthropologist described that his discovery consisted of 3 bones. The first bone was the middle portion of a femoral shaft, measuring 14 centimeters in length. The second bone was a fragment of the middle and upper part of a tibial shaft, measuring 26 centimeters. The third bone was likely a fragment of a humerus. The volumes of all these bones were significantly larger than those of an average human. Along with the description of his find, Lapouge also attached a photograph of the bones. The anthropologist was convinced that they all belonged to a human, not an animal. However, considering the size of the bones, this person must have stood around 3.5 meters tall. Of course, no one had ever heard of such tall humans before. Officially, the tallest person in history remains Robert Wadlow, whose height was 247 centimeters. However, he was born in 1918, after Lapouge had already discovered the giant's bones. In 1892, these unique bones were examined by zoologists and paleontologists from the University of Montpellier, and later by Dr. Paul Louis André Kiener, a professor of pathological anatomy at Montpellier Medical School. The scientists confirmed that they indeed belonged to a human who might have been a representative of an unknown race of tall people who lived during the Bronze Age. What was even more surprising was that a few years later, giant human skulls were found not far from the cemetery. So it is quite possible that this area was once inhabited by incredibly tall people. After the extinction of the dinosaurs, new species of animals began to appear on Earth. They still differed significantly from modern animals in their appearance. Some of them boasted impressive sizes, such as Barinasuchus. Barinasuchus, or the Barinus crocodile, is an extinct genus of sebecid mesoeucrocodilians. The body length of these ancient crocodiles could reach 7 meters, their weight up to 800 kilograms, and their height more than 1 meter. Just imagine how enormous this reptile was. It's worth noting that among living crocodiles, the largest is the saltwater crocodile, with a body length of 4 to 4.5 meters and a weight of 400 kilograms. Barinasuchus lived on our planet 24 million years ago. The remains of these animals were discovered in Peru, Argentina, and Venezuela. This led scientists to believe that Barinasuchus primarily inhabited South America. This species was discovered relatively recently and described in 2007. Barinasuchus did indeed resemble modern crocodiles, but unlike them, the ancient animals had tall legs. This allowed them to move quickly on land and live not in bodies of water, but in jungles. Barinasuchus were terrestrial predators. They could easily catch their prey with their long, powerful legs and dispatch it with their curved teeth. Given their size, this species was the most fearsome predator of its time and likely had no natural enemies. In 1856, the U.S. Congress passed the Guano Islands Act, allowing claims on islands with guano deposits, bird and bat droppings that were used as a raw material for producing nitrogen, phosphorus, fertilizer, and gunpowder. This led to active guano mining. In 1911, 2 miners decided to explore a cave in a remote part of Nevada, hoping to find valuable deposits. There was indeed bat guano, but the miners also discovered human skeletons of incredible size. Most of them were significantly over 2 meters long, and some skulls still had patches of red hair. The cave where this discovery was made is located about 30 kilometers from the town of Lovelock, so after the news of the giant skeletons broke, newspapers dubbed it Lovelock Cave. In addition to the bones, fragments of enormous sandals and a boulder with the imprint of a very large hand were also found in the cave. According to scientists, these giants were between 240 and 300 centimeters tall. Interestingly, ancient giant remains were also found in a lake several kilometers from the cave. These finds confirm the truth of the Native American legends about red-haired giants who long ago inhabited the area that is now central Nevada. In 2012, a giant footprint resembling a human foot was discovered on a rock in Swaziland, southern Africa. The footprint measures 120 centimeters in length. Could this mark have been left by a giant? Even before the discovery was studied, skeptics began doubting that the print belonged to a giant's foot. It does indeed show 5 toes and a heel clearly, but the footprint is positioned vertically, and it would be impossible to place a foot that way, even for a giant. However, it's possible that the footprint was originally horizontal and later ended up in this position. To solve the mystery of this find, scientists began studying the object and determined that it is 200 million years old. Over this time, many tectonic shifts occurred in the region, so the theory that the footprint was originally horizontal could be correct. But how did the print remain perfectly preserved for such a long period? Scientists believe this was possible because the footprint was left on cooling magma, rather than on clay or sand. Although scientists have gathered some information about this mysterious footprint, they still haven't answered the main question: who left it? Gigantism is a condition characterized by excessive growth in humans or animals. This condition is quite rare, affecting approximately 3 in a million people, which is why archaeologists had long been unable to find complete skeletons belonging to people with gigantism. However, in 2012, during excavations in Rome, researchers finally made such a discovery. The height of the ancient Roman to whom the remains belonged is estimated by experts to have been 202 centimeters. By the standards of that time, specifically the 3rd century AD when this person lived, such height was truly exceptional. The average height of a man in ancient Rome was 167 centimeters. Of course, scientists considered the possibility that the person to whom the remains belonged might not necessarily have suffered from gigantism, so the skeleton was sent for examination. During the study, experts found evidence of skull damage consistent with a pituitary tumor. Additionally, the disproportionately long limbs and signs that the bones continued to grow even into early adulthood also indicated that this person suffered from gigantism. Researchers also determined that the person was about 16 to 20 years old at the time of death and likely died from cardiovascular disease, which could have been related to the gigantism. There are many species of large snakes in our world, such as the anaconda, boa constrictor, or reticulated python, but none of them compare to the true giant discovered by Belgian pilot Remy van Lierde. In 1959, Remy van Lierde was returning from a mission in his helicopter. Over Katanga in the Belgian Congo, he spotted a giant snake. The pilot was shocked by what he saw, as he had never encountered such a large snake. At first, he thought he was imagining it, so he turned the helicopter around to get a closer look at the creature. That's when he realized it was indeed a snake, and it was truly that enormous. Remy knew that no one would believe him, so he asked his assistant to photograph the animal. This photograph remains the only evidence of the existence of the giant Congolese snake. According to the pilot, the snake had brown-green skin with its belly completely white. The animal's head was at least 90 centimeters long and 30 centimeters wide, and the entire length of its body was about 15 meters. Scientists still cannot explain what kind of snake was captured in the pilot's photo. Some believe it could have been a new, undiscovered species, but one theory suggests that it might have been an ancient species of giant snake, Titanoboa, which is believed to be extinct. The Ohio Grassman is a bipedal monster that inhabits the forests of Ohio. According to eyewitness descriptions, he looks like a huge human, with his body covered in dark fur. He also resembles a yeti, but unlike them, the Grassman does not live in caves. Instead, he builds nests from grass, which is how he got his name. The Grassman is known for his very aggressive nature. People who have seen him try to stay far away, as the monster will attack if he notices them, leaving no one alive. The first reported sighting of the Grassman dates back to 1978, when the Clayton family observed the creature near their home for a year. Fortunately, none of them were harmed. Though no official records of the Grassman attacking people exist, he is still considered dangerous. It is believed that the monster prefers hunting deer and dogs, and he only removes the liver from his prey. The existence of the Grassman remains questionable, but strange large nests are occasionally found in the remote forests of Ohio. Who the creators of these nests are is unknown to scientists. It is quite possible that they belong to the Grassman. In Adams County, Ohio, there is a mysterious structure known as the Serpent Mound. It continues to astonish researchers, not only because of its unusual shape, but also its origin. The Serpent Mound is a prehistoric structure depicting a giant winding snake. Its coiled tail points westward, while its head faces east. The head also features a large oval shape, which could represent either the snake's eye or an egg being swallowed. The total length of this structure is nearly 400 meters. The first studies of this site began in the late 19th century. Scientists were eager to find out who built the Serpent Mound. However, the knowledge and technology of the time were insufficient to answer this question. Initially, it was believed that the structure's creators could have been from cultures such as Adena, Hopewell, or the Fort Ancient culture. It wasn't until 1991 that radiocarbon dating was conducted on the Serpent Mound. The results indicated that the structure was built 900 years ago, which suggested that it was created by the Fort Ancient culture. However, in 2011, further dating revealed that the Serpent Mound actually dates back to 300 BCE, making it more likely that it was created by the Adena culture and later reconstructed by the Fort Ancient culture. But this remains just a theory. Moreover, the exact origin and purpose of the mound remain unknown. During excavations in China's Shandong province, near the city of Jinan, archaeologists discovered a cemetery containing the remains of rather tall people. The height of the deceased exceeded 190 centimeters. This might not seem surprising at first, but these remains are 5,000 years old, and compared to the average height of the inhabitants of China at that time, these people were true giants. Even today, the average height of men in Shandong province is 172 centimeters. Scientists believe that the inhabitants of this ancient village were so tall due to a rich and varied diet. Further excavations revealed that these people cultivated millet and raised pigs. Additionally, they belonged to the wealthier strata of society and could afford nutritious food. Excavations around Jinan have been ongoing for several years. 5,000 years ago, this area was considered the political, economic, and cultural center of northern Shandong province. The findings in this region have helped scientists discover that most of the ancient inhabitants of this part of the province lived in comfortable homes, practiced agriculture, and raised livestock. However, it remains unknown why such tall people almost completely disappeared from China in the following centuries. Among all modern flying birds, the largest is the Andean condor, with a wingspan of over 3 meters. However, in ancient times, much larger birds inhabited our planet, and the undisputed leader among them was Argentavis. Argentavis lived during the late Miocene, about 5 to 8 million years ago, in South America, and belonged to the family Pteratornithidae. These birds were 3 meters long, and their wingspan reached 7 meters, the same as that of a small, light aircraft. The main habitat of these birds was what is now Argentina, which is why they were named Argentavis, meaning magnificent Argentine bird. Argentavis were predatory birds that, despite their enormous size, primarily hunted small rodents. Scientists believe that they would track a group of rodents and then swoop down on them from above, stunning them with their bodies and swallowing their prey whole. The anatomical features of these ancient birds indicated that they primarily used gliding flight to move. Argentavis could reach flight speeds of up to 65 kilometers per hour. The blue whale is currently the heaviest animal on our planet, with a body mass of 150 tons. In modern times, the blue whale has no rivals, but around 39 million years ago, another cetacean mammal weighing 340 tons lived on Earth, the Basilosaurus. Basilosaurus inhabited nearly all of the warm seas of the Earth. Externally, they resembled giant fish, as their bodies were very elongated and narrow. Surprisingly, despite their record body mass, Basilosaurus was shorter than blue whales. Blue whales can grow up to 33 meters long, while the body length of these ancient cetaceans rarely exceeded 21 meters. So why did they weigh twice as much as their descendants? The reason lies in the structure of Basilosaurus bones, which were incredibly dense and heavy. Each of their vertebrae weighed about 100 kilograms. In studying the remains of these animals, scientists also discovered that the bones were thickened with additional layers, reducing internal cavities. This bone structure allowed Basilosaurus to regulate buoyancy. Fossil discoveries from different time periods have helped scientists trace the evolution of cetaceans. Interestingly, the oldest specimens had limbs, indicating that millions of years ago, cetaceans moved on land before transitioning to the sea, eventually losing their hind limbs and the ability to walk. Ferdinand Magellan is a well-known Portuguese and Spanish navigator of the 16th century. He commanded the expedition that made the first circumnavigation of the world. But in addition to his successful voyages, Magellan is also remembered as one of the first explorers to encounter giants in Patagonia. This story took place during Magellan's circumnavigation expedition in 1521, and it became known thanks to the records of the expedition's chronicler, Antonio Pigafetta. When Magellan was searching for a passage from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean, he and his crew crossed the equator and found themselves in the southern hemisphere, near the coast of unknown lands, which are now part of Argentina. The explorers decided to make a temporary stop on this coast. At first, they thought these lands were uninhabited, but at night, they began to notice smoke and strange lights. One day, the expedition members saw a giant, human-like creature over a hill. They were shocked to see that the giant stood over 3 meters tall and called Magellan to witness this marvel. When the giant saw the people, he began to dance and sprinkle sand on the ground. Magellan interpreted this as a sign of friendship and ordered one of the sailors to do the same. The giant, surprised by the people's behavior, even called his fellow tribesmen to introduce them to the visitors. The sailors gave the giants trinkets and treated them to food. However, they later decided to deceive the giants and capture 2 of them to bring back to King Charles V of Spain. The explorers succeeded in doing so, but as soon as they set sail with the giants on board, an epidemic broke out on the ship. People began to die, and Magellan was soon killed in a skirmish with locals, never completing his expedition. Perhaps this mistreatment of the friendly giants was the cause of all these misfortunes and tragedies. Interestingly, the sailors called the giants Patagones, or big-footed ones, and the lands were named Patagonia. Since then, this region in Argentina has continued to bear that name. Titanoboa were the largest snakes ever to have lived on our planet. Their bodies reached lengths of up to 13 meters, and they weighed more than a ton. Fortunately for those who fear snakes, Titanoboa became extinct over 57 million years ago. The remains of this giant were first discovered in Colombia in the Sarajan Formation. Nowhere else have scientists found Titanoboa skeletons, indicating that these giant snakes may have inhabited only the area that is now modern-day Colombia, near hot springs. Like other snakes, Titanoboa required warmth to regulate their body temperature, and given their size, they needed a lot of heat. Today, large snakes live in the tropical rainforests of South America and Southeast Asia because the higher air temperatures help them maintain their bodily functions. During the Cenozoic era, the climate in the tropics was much hotter than it is now, which allowed Titanoboa to grow to such impressive sizes. These giant snakes were not venomous. Like modern boas, they subdued their prey by constricting it in deadly coils. Interestingly, research on the remains has shown that Titanoboa were closely related to modern boas. To sustain themselves, these snakes required large prey. Scientists believe that the primary diet of Titanoboa consisted of crocodiles. Additionally, they fed on birds, turtles, and sometimes fish. Since Titanoboa were slow-moving snakes, they would wait for their prey to come close, then attack, strangle it, and swallow it whole. Megalodon was an extinct species of shark and one of the largest predatory fish ever to have existed on Earth. These giant fish inhabited our planet during the Miocene and Pliocene epochs. The warm oceans and abundant food sources made Megalodon a very successful predator. This species became incredibly widespread and numerous. Giant sharks lived in almost all parts of the world's oceans, but what could have led to their extinction? About 2.6 million years ago, climate changes began to significantly lower ocean temperatures. This led to the death of many marine creatures, resulting in a food shortage for the giant predators, whose population was extremely high. Additionally, new, more agile and developed predators, such as toothed whales, appeared in the oceans. All these factors contributed to the gradual disappearance of Megalodon. Although Megalodon is an extinct species, its representatives remain the largest predatory fish ever known. Initially, it was believed that their body length reached 30 meters, but modern technology has provided scientists with more accurate data on the size of ancient sharks. According to the latest findings, the body length of Megalodon could reach 15 meters, but on average, members of this species grew to about 12 meters. The weight of these ancient sharks was around 30 tons. Megalodon was a dangerous predator. Its mouth contained about 276 teeth, arranged in 5 rows. The jaws could reach 2 meters in size, and its bite force was 3 times stronger than that of a saltwater crocodile. In 1847, German biologist Carl Bergmann formulated a rule stating that the size of animals depends on their habitat, particularly that larger species tend to live in colder climates, such as in high latitudes or mountainous regions. However, as practice shows, this rule doesn't always apply. But even so, the permafrost regions and snowy mountains still hold many secrets. It is quite possible that yetis do exist, and along with them, other giants may be living in remote areas. Recently, a photograph was published online in which we can see some large, unknown creature. According to the photographer, the picture was taken with the help of a drone in Siberia. This creature appeared to be tall and anatomically resembled a human. Unfortunately, it is impossible to clearly see what this being looked like because the quality of the photograph is too poor. So, we can only speculate about what was captured in the image. And that's all from me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell. Your support is the best reward for me. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye.